Our hero's rebellious nature began to kick in, and now he was even more eager to break it. This alarms the system and caused it to issue a serious warning. It said that becoming a demonic cultivator was punishable, adding that if it caught up with him in his current state, he would instantly perish. At the bottom, it was written in small letters that if he became a master, things might be different. Unfortunately for Junction, he couldn't read what was written at the bottom, so he started demanding the system to show it to him again. In the end, he was unable to get anything out of the stubborn system. Turning to the confused, Rui, Junction told her to ignore his strange behavior. Right now, they needed to continue following their plan before her active time ran out. He decided to start by building a small wooden house, and for that, he asked Rui to cut down some trees. The girl agreed without a second thought, because in her opinion, it was the easiest thing to do. However, as soon as Chungshan saw the magic in her hand, he immediately panicked and shouted for her to wait. He needed wood to build a house, not ashes. Remembering the magic she had done last time, he asked her not to use such powerful abilities again. Ray replied in confusion that she had used the weakest ability last time, Chunks, and didn't know what to say in the end. He asked her to be cautious and use minimum effort following our hero's orders. Really activated her ability. But this time things didn't go according to plan. At the same time, a beautiful girl with bear ears was bathing in one of the lakes located in this forest. She was very comfortable and pleasant, and nothing foreshadowed trouble. But suddenly, a few centimeters away from her flew a huge fireball, which scared her very much. The girl stood still for a few seconds trying to come to her senses. There was too much commotion in the forest that day. But what struck the bear girl even more was the huge attack mark. Looks like she should stop bathing in the evenings. At the same time, Chungshin was standing near the large attack mark of Rui. His worst guesses were correct, and instead of wood, he only received ashes. Ray apologized, saying that it was an accident. But our hero didn't care anymore. All he wanted now was to get the wood he needed. After a bit of thinking, he could think of nothing better than the traditional method of collecting wood. And that was to us Rui's physical strength alone. The girl was very inspired by the idea and said that he could rely on her. A few moments later, she was standing in front of a large tree. The method of chopping wood with hand chops seemed very slow to her, so she couldn't think of anything better than just pulling out the 1,000-year-old tree, or Hero's mind was clearly not ready for such a turn. The huge tree that had been growing in this place for 1,000s of years was pulled out like a feather chunks and couldn't stop marveling at Rui's strength. With the tree okay with it. He's still in shock, nodded confusedly, and he promised himself that he would use Rui's power more carefully in the future. Since all the conditions were met, the system told Chungshan to touch the tree trunk. In the next instant, the synthesis of wooden planks for construction began. Although it only took 5 seconds of real time, by the end of the operation, Junction had turned back into a wilted carrot, but the result was worth it. He was successfully able to synthesize 100 units of wood, which were now stored in his inventory. The system reported that to use them, he just needed to visualize the name of the item in his head. However, Junction was too tired to think about anything concerned. We placed our hero on her lap and inquired about his well-being. Johnson replied with difficulty that he needed to return to the soil as soon as possible to recover his strength. Soon, Chun-Shin was back at the bottom of the pit, and he was very happy about it. His spiritual energy was being used up too quickly. He had done very little and was already tired. He couldn't let this continue. He began to think about how to speed up the process of his advancement. However, his thoughts were suddenly interrupted by an unexpected occurrence. His body began to disappear. At first, Junction was startled, but he soon remembered that this was what was supposed to happen. Time was up, and his body began to return back to the barrier. The system also reported that he could now only use in her hands. She ran up to him and asked if he would be the puppet replacement again after 23 hours. Our hero realized that this was inevitable, but he still didn't want to part with Rui after turning Roe into a blob of energy. The system placed it inside Junction. The system said that it would analyze and obtain information about the creature named by Rui. When our hero asked if it was normal, the system assured him it was fine. The system advised him not to worry about anything and to wait for the results of the analysis. His main task now was to absorb water and spiritual energy. The system started deciphering and analyzing all attributes: biological strength, ecological, and behavioral. But as it turned out later, it wasn't that simple. During the analyzing process, an error suddenly occurred, which the system immediately tried to solve. Despite the complexity, the ignition system refused to back down and continued analyzing. However, despite its best efforts, the analysis still failed. The system kept trying, but each time it failed, but there was no problem that the system could not solve. It was only a question of time. After calculations, the system reported that it would take approximately 952 hours and 7 minutes to solve the problem. The system asked if Chungshan wanted it to continue solving the issue. Our hero didn't mind, but seeing the tired look on the system's face, he replied that it could solve the problem when it had free time. Fortunately, even these attempts by the system bore fruit, and the result was that Chungshan could now use 1,000 of binary's abilities to our hero. This was incredible news. At the same time, several spiritual leopards were running through the night forest. They were rushing towards their destination at high speed, and after some time, they managed to reach it. As it turned out, their destination was the huge pit that Rui had created and in which Chungshan was recovering his strength right now. Seeing the scale of the disaster, the leopards immediately realized that something big had happened. They hadn't encountered such serious issues in a long time. In addition, the barrier in which Bairili was sealed had suddenly disappeared. It was obvious that the forest was about to undergo a great change from now on. But for now, this was just their assumptions in order to confirm their guesses or find some clues they needed to go down into the pit. Meanwhile, in the pit, Chungshan couldn't be happy with the strength he had gained. He couldn't wait to use his little muscles somewhere. Although he still didn't feel as good as he felt in his human body, but he was already making progress. Suddenly, his joy was interrupted by a system that reported that several strong creatures were approaching them. The system's words were true. After a while, our hero heard the sound of approaching footsteps. It was as if he was in a horror movie. Darkness, someone's approaching footsteps growling, and the unknown Junction was scared and didn't know what to do. It was easy to guess that they were wild beasts, and they came just when Rui was sleeping. The very next moment, several spiritual leopards appeared out of the darkness. Their gazes searched every corner of the pit as if looking for something. Suddenly, the gazes of all the leopards went straight to the center of the pit. They stared at our hero, who naturally stood out in the middle of the empty cave. But despite Junction's pessimistic assumptions to the spiritual leopards, he was just an ordinary carrot to them. His presence there was both surprising and disappointing. They had come here to find some clues. However, they only managed to find a carrot. Junction, on the other hand, continued to shake with fear at this time. He had already guessed that the three strong beings the system was talking about are these spiritual leopards. Suddenly, one of the leopards offered to quench his thirst with a radish or carrot, but the other one immediately dismissed the idea and told him to stop joking. Even if it was a spiritual radish, no one would eat it. Although Chungshan was a little offended, but this was a good thing for him. It was better than being eaten. In his mind, he thanked fate that he had not been reborn into some spiritual rabbit, because in that case, things could have been completely different. All the while, the system continued to analyze and transform the energy. The progress bar gradually continued to grow, and the moment it reached 100%, a bright light flashed. After a while, Chungshan's spiritual body appeared from there. His eyes were still closed, and he didn't really understand what was happening. Finally, daring to open his eyes, he immediately stared at his translucent body. Seeing his bewilderment, the system explained that it had transformed Rui's power to suit him, and now that the girl was sealed in his body, he could move freely in his soul state. The system also clarified that if he used his his soul state could be seen. At the same time, the spiritual leopards had completely lost hope of finding any clues in this pit. They had no choice but to return and report back to their master. And just as they were about to leave, one leopard suddenly wanted to pee. There was nothing to do, so the head leopard told him to hurry up and finish it quickly. At the same time, Chengxin was enjoying the feeling of freedom and lightness of his new form. However, his joy was destined to be short-lived. The reason for this was this leopard. Thinking himself a hero, he decided to help the poor carrot and fertilize it. But our hero did not like this idea at all. Chengxin was so angry that his eyes began to blaze with rage. His honor was in danger, and he was going to do his best to prevent this from happening. Even the spiritual leopard felt a bit of our hero's rage, and his friends to notice that it was a little colder around, and they had goosebumps running down their backs. But the impatient leopard did not understand the hint and continued to prepare to do his dirty deed. This was when Chengxin's patience exploded, and the demonstration of his strength made him visible to the leopards. They immediately growled fearfully, not realizing who had appeared here. Our hero showed up in his human form in front of them, and the power emanating from him made the leopards first stood up. Chengxin simply couldn't understand. How could they allow the thought of peeing on him? They would pay a high price for this. The poor leopard's spirits were scared out of their wits after such a fiery appearance of our hero. Chengxin in his mental form was simply burning with rage. He simply could not tolerate monsters, humans, and other animals and creatures that are so shameless that they mark their territory anywhere. All those who defecate or urinate anywhere, they're all the same. For such he had no regret and filled with righteous rage. He used a bit of Bairui's power to confiscate the tools used in the crime. A cry of pain resounded over the dark forest, and no more bushes were to be harmed by this leopard spirit's tool. All three leopard spirits rushed with all their might away from this cursed place. But even after they disappeared into the darkness, the whimpering of the leopard spirit devoid of its tool could still be heard for a long time. Chengxin had to admit that they had run very fast. Their escape was only to the advantage of our hero. He was sure that they would spread rumors about the evil in this forest, and then Chengxin's 5-day plan would go smoothly without any interruptions. After all, our hero was just a weak carrot, and even such a minor use of strength on one leopard resulted in a backache. It made him wonder if in this life and in this world, except as an out-of-body experience, he could only exist in the form of a carrot, from which anyone could only squeeze out all the spiritual power, and it would disappear without a trace. Such a prospect of existence was very doubtful. But the system came to the rescue. Xiao Quan explained to our hero that the spiritual power of a carrot was potentially unlimited, and every time he would use his absorption skill, he would increase his spiritual power limit. He should be squeezed dry. The more thoroughly Chengxin wilts, the more astonishing the breakthrough and values will be. However, such advice was not to our hero's liking and seems dubious. He saw the words squeezed dry too clearly. Now, after a hard and busy day, Chengxin was very tired and wanted to sleep properly. With that, he asked the Omnisend AI system to be on guard all night and wake him up as soon as there would be any danger. Morning came with bright rays of the sun, but it was not them that woke up our hero. It was the morning shower of cold water. Chengxin immediately woke up thinking it was raining, but it was only by Rui she came out of her barrier and immediately noticed something interesting. At the bottom of the pit she dug last night, a spring had appeared. This land was truly blessed. Our hero was a little surprised that she herself came out of the barrier. But before he could ask his questions, Rui got right down to business and decided to help him get out of the ground by grabbing the leaves at the top, completely ignoring the screams of our hero. During the night in the ground, our carrot has become much more healthy and bigger. Now even Bai really noticed that he looked smoother and bigger than yesterday. Moreover, he probably tastes better than before. Chengxin was embarrassed by what she was doing and how she was rubbing him and resisted as best he could. But the strength in this fight was not equal. Not only that, but the Omnisend AI system also appeared and explained to him that because his spiritual limit had been increased by 1 level, he had become more delicious like a carrot. This was where our hero had even more questions. This was definitely not a good thing. You know, being a tasty vegetable is bad luck in the forest. Finally, Chun-Shin was able to break free from the embrace of our cute witch with amnesia and began to explain to her what she had done wrong. First, the next time she pulls him out, she should just dig him out instead of pulling him. This was all a bit embarrassing and uncomfortable for our hero. The second thing was their plan of action for the day, which was to build the perfect wooden house. With such a place, they would be able to have a shelter and a place for scientific activities. Roy was only in favor of building the house. Junction immediately got down to business and opened the inventory. Ordering Xiaoguan to prepare the building materials by Ray also supported his imaginary friend as much as she could. But unfortunately, she was doing it in the wrong direction, since she simply didn't even see him. In any case, our hero assumes that according to Shell Quant's functions, he should be able to directly build a wooden house. Unfortunately, Junction's current spiritual power was insufficient to create large objects in such a case. Now there was a very high possibility of a malfunction in the process. However, he was still able to use his, which as soon as he asked if she knew what shape the house was supposed to be, she immediately assured him that he had nothing to worry about and ran off to build it. Of course, from the outside, it all looked like a fight, and in the process, the environment was damaged inappropriately. But Junction, along with his system, cheered her on like the best cheerleaders. Unfortunately, the result was disappointing for our hero, but not for Bairui, like a real witch. She made herself a house with legs and arms, although the house was flat for some reason. But that's another matter. Junction could not understand what kind of postmodern art is this. Our hero had to take control of everything and draw a demonstration of what a normal wooden house looks like. On the ground, Bairui was supposed to do everything just so, and like a real architect, Chungshan sent her to work, advising her not to become the worst subordinate he had ever managed. But instead of getting to work by really frozen place, our carrot even started asking what was wrong with her and why wasn't she moving. Was his attitude too strict? The real reason was something else entirely. Someone was watching them. That was something our which was not used to forgive. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared from the clearing and appeared right behind the frightened girl spy who was hiding in the bushes. It was she who was bathing in the lake, while Bairui was busy chopping down trees, which immediately grabbed the stranger and threatening to end her existence. Quickly asked who she was. The poor girl was so scared that she didn't even know what to say, and Bairui started sniffing her. That was enough to realize that the spy girl was a member of the Iron-Eating clan, but another question remained unanswered. Why was she spying on our heroes? The silence dragged on as the girl came to her senses. Finally, she said that she hadn't been watching them at all, but was just picking mushrooms nearby. Of course, Bairui did not believe her, but she decided not to act on her own and let the spy's fate be decided by the master. The witch's single spell was enough to move them together from the forest to the clearing. Johnson was a little scared at first, but then quickly asked if this was the girl who was spying on them by being. Ree held her tightly with a murderous look. But did he know? It was just his gut feeling, just like an instinct. Immediately, the system came to the help and explained to that, because the power of spiritual carrots is too weak. They have developed the ability to sense crises, to protect themselves. Even subtle malice can be detected. It was a very useful ability for such weak beings. Meanwhile, Bairui began to lose patience and used force to make the captive speak. The girl repeated that it was not a surveillance and screamed that it hurts. Shunsin did not want to watch her suffering, and first of all ordered Bairui to let her go. The witch immediately obeyed her master. Our hero believed that captives should be treated kindly, but she must also tell the truth to keep it that way. If she says it wasn't surveillance, then why was she hiding behind the trees? The frightened girl immediately began to tell that there were always loud noises in this forest, and last night it happened again. She had also heard strange rumors from the other tribes. That's why she was so curious. She wanted to come and check it out for herself. But of course, she didn't expect to meet anyone here. Junction didn't expect those 3 leopards to spread such nonsense, although he gave them a good scare back then. If these rumors were to be believed, his image in this forest would be quite terrifying. But none of this explained why the young girl had come here to investigate. Roy missed the moment of meeting the 3 leopards and demanded an explanation as to what our hero only needed one look to realize that the girl didn't seem to be aggressive. How rumors the girl was talking about. She hesitated and didn't know where to start from. Then, the ominous figure of Viral Wei loomed over her and demanded that she answered the question and not overthink it. One look at Bai Rui made even our hero uncomfortable. He didn't understand why the witch had changed so much and became a completely wicked woman chunks, and even began to worry if he had not completely screwed up and let loose. A big and terrible monster. Although if he listened to his inner carrot sense, he didn't feel any aggression or threat from her. She was probably just worried for his safety, and that's why she acted that way in hope. He took another look at her and immediately realized how wrong he was. She was the devil in the flesh. The poor girl in front of her had a very hard time. Finally, she was able to squeeze out of herself a couple of words that the rumors were that a deity appeared in the forest. Such an answer our hero did not expect, but he had not misheard. It was a deity in the girl's imagination was something far from the truth. But it seems that she was not the only one who imagined it that way. Her clan and herself wanted to come and see this great deity to pray to him and ask for his blessings and to keep them safe and joyful. In all of this, our hero had only one question. Which clan members was she talking about? The answer came by itself as the soil began to crumble from the top of the pit and a multitude of weird figures appeared. Damn it. A whole tribe of giant pandas had come to visit our hero Chunks and didn't understand how there could be so many of them here. Roy came to the rescue and explained that this was the Iron-Eating Clan. In her remaining memories, they were ruthless and evil, ancient, divine beasts, although they didn't seem that way to our hero now. According to the legends, the Iron-Eating Clan was located on her. She used mount. Their feces were as hard as steel because they ate iron without harming their stomachs. The legend said that you casually scooped a lump of feces from the panda's buttocks and shot them out with it. That was like swoosh, and it becomes a peerless, unique hidden weapon. And this hidden weapon has a hidden property, well, not really hidden. A strong smell by Ray took everything seriously and didn't want any competition. She threateningly told the young girl that there were no deities here. But the Iron-Eating Clan representative couldn't accept that she knew very well that the deity had driven away the leopards from the Wind Clan. Shunshin had to intervene and try to calm Bai Rui down so that she wouldn't be harsh to the non-aggressive guest. But even he assured the girl that there was no deity here and she should get her clan out of here quickly. She couldn't believe it. There was supposed to be a wilted carrot in a pit in the middle of the forest. The rumors from the Wind Clan described it all very clearly. Then she froze for a moment, as if mesmerized. It was only now that she realized that the carrot was talking and that she had been talking to the carrot for several minutes. Her next reaction was not at all standard. She squealed with delight and bowed to our hero. Now she was addressing him as a great deity in the legend passed down in their clan from generation to generation. It was said that one day there will come a spirit carrot that can speak, and he will come riding on colorful clouds to save their clan. And this talking carrot would become their true deity. And now she was 100% sure that our hero was that deity. He's the deity that belongs to their Iron-Eating Clan. All the pandas bowed respectfully, and they didn't care at all about the cries of Chung Shin, who was trying to explain to them that they were wrong. He was not a deity, and he didn't have any money to give them, nor did he tell them to bow at all. The panda girl immediately rushed to hug our hero, convinced that the great god had finally arrived to save them. The other pandas decided to follow suit. These cute little lumps all rolled to the bottom of the pit, filling up the entire space. Ray didn't like what was happening at all. Damn it. She couldn't let anyone touch the big carrot besides her. That big carrot belonged only to her, and she wasn't going to share. She was ready to take what was hers by force. But Panda Girl wasn't about to give up either. Each was pulling in their own direction, and no matter which way you look at it, only our hero was a victim. Well, not really a victim, to beauties. We're pulling him with all their mind, and all because of some damn crazy legend. Wait, please wait. Hear me out. If you enjoy this video, how about you subscribe, like, and hit that notification button so that you will be able to be notified when I upload another video.